Fine. We discussed three scheduling schemes. One is static, the second one is neighbor to neighbor, and the third one is remote monitoring and scheduling management. The last one is hop by hop scheduling. In the hop by hop scheduling, here it is completely between two hops. Two nodes will perform the scheduling. Suppose I want to send a node data to node B. We both will exchange the scheduling information. We both will reserve a path. A node reserves a path to the destination node, which is multiple hops away by requesting the allocation of cells in a schedule at each intermediate node hop in the path. So it is responsible for generating a transmission hop or a path. We call it as reserving a path. Say I want to send a data from one node to the other node, which is away from me through multiple hops. So reserving a complete path is done through this hop by hop scheduling. The first one is static. The second one is neighbor to neighbor. So the two neighbors, only the scheduling between the neighbors, and it is dynamic. The third one is through a coordinating entity. Now the fourth one is between two destination elements, sender and the destination, not between the neighbors, between two nodes which are away from multiple hops, reserving a complete path. That is done through this hop by hop scheduling. Suppose I want to send a data to node N, which is away from me by multiple paths. What I will do, I will send a request for reserving a path from my node to the node N. This is called as hop by hop scheduling. And now that node will allocate the particular path. This is hop by hop scheduling. Along with these scheduling mechanism, there are three forwarding schemes. What is the meaning of forwarding? Forwarding means moving the packet, forwarding the packet. So it is performed on each packet by a node that allows it to be delivered to a next hop or an upper layer protocol. There are three kinds of forwarding here. The forwarding of the packet will be handled in the three way. There are track forwarding, fragment forwarding, and we have IPv6 forwarding. We'll see the first one. See, the first method is like this, track forwarding. What is this track forwarding? And it is the fastest way of forwarding the data. Here, we'll not send only a single data. Only one node will not send the data. Here, it is based on a concept called constructing a track. What is a track? Track is a unidirectional path, only a one-directional path or unidirectional path between a source and a destination. We construct a track first. This track is called as a unidirectional path between the source and a destination. Source and a destination. How this track is constructed? By pairing bundle of receive cells in a schedule with a bundle of receive cells to transmit. Artha aita? This sentence. Here we combine group of nodes. Here we combine group of receiving cells. Hello? The multiple receiving cells will be bundled from the transmitter. Say I want to transmit. Okay, wait. I will explain. We have two nodes. One is source node and another one is destination or the receiver node. Here I want to construct a path between these two devices. What is this path? Here the path is called as a track. But the track is a unidirectional one. Always it is between the sender and the destination, and it is a unidirectional. This is track. How this track is constructed? It is by pairing a cells. What is a cell? A cell is just a transmission unit. Suppose between the sender and the receiver, one time slot is there. There are so many senders. This is also one more sender. He is a receiver. There is one more sender, and now these three people are contending for getting this channel. So we divide a channel into slots, maybe of 2 seconds. Then this 2 second slot will be divided into cells. So these cells are allocated for all these senders. These cells are allocated for these senders. The cells are allocated. They adjust the size of their data according to the cells. Now, these things will be bundled. These things will be bundled. So pairing bundles of receiving cells, these receiving cells are bundled, and all the data are transmitted at a particular time slot from all these senders through this track. We create a track called as a communication channel between multiple senders. We create a track, and between the sender and the destination, here there may be multiple senders. Each sender will have their own cells. These cells are bundled and data will be transmitted. We call this as track forwarding. Other two techniques are between only one sender and the one receiver. Only this technique is like between multiple sender and one receiver. All the incoming cells will be bundled and the data will be transmitted. This is track forwarding. Because of this, many people can send the data simultaneously, and as a result of this, we can achieve faster data transmission. The next two forwarding techniques are between the only one sender and the receiver. What is this? Fragment forwarding. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಡೇಟಾನ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸೇರಿಸಿ, in the fragmented technique, between the sender and the receiver, the data will be transmitted. How? Not a fully packed data. This data will be divided into fragments by using 6-LoWPAN. This will be divided into fragments, and the data will be forwarded. The packet is divided into fragments, small unit. Then it will be forwarded using 6-LoWPAN fragment header. Difference artha aita? In the previous one, multiple data are transmitted by bundling through a track. Here, not even a full data. The packet will be divided into small fragment, then it is transmitted. This is called fragment forwarding. Here, first fragment. Suppose there are so many fragments which comes under a particular packet. A packet is divided into 2-3 fragments, let us assume. A first fragment is routed based on the IPv6 header. The remaining fragments will be routed based on 6-LoWPAN headers. This is one thing. And either you can adopt reassembling at the next hop, or you can reassemble all these things at the end point. If you go for reassembling at the next hop, it consumes lot of power and it involves latency. So it is better to avoid reassembling at the intermediate nodes. You send all the fragments, only at the destination node you reassemble these fragments. This is fragment forwarding. The last one is IPv6 forwarding. Here complete packet will be sent at a time. will not divide it into fragments. A complete fragment will be forwarded and based on routing table created by the routers which follow IPv6 address for taking the decision. And it also adopts something called as RED, what we discussed in the CN theory and the lab classes. Then it adopts RED, random early detection, in order to avoid buffer overflows. We don't have this buffer overflow problem with the fragmentation, but we have this problem in the RED techniques, sorry, in the full packet transmission technique. So it uses a QoS method called as a random early detection method. This is the third category, this routing protocols design. RPL is one of the routing protocol designed for IoT. What is this RPL? We'll see that. RPL is a IPv6 routing protocol for the low power and lossy networks. Routing protocol for low power and lossy networks, that is RPL. This was developed, so people started working on it. Internet Engineering Task Force formed a committee called as ROLE, or a working group called as a ROLE. ROLE stands for Routing Over Low Power and Lossy Networks. This committee or this working group evaluated all the available routing protocols, existing routing protocols, and they analyzed the current issues with respect to the IP smart object, and they determined all the needs and requirements, and they started developing a routing solution for IP smart objects. This can be used in the constrained network. So what is RPL? RPL stands for IPv6 routing protocol for low power and lossy networks. RPL stands for routing protocol for low power and lossy networks. Here, as I told, we don't have a separate device called a router in the network. All the nodes in the network will behave like a router. We use a concept of distributed computing. All the nodes behaves like a router, and it becomes part of a mesh network. As you all know that here also the routing is taken care by network layer only. We call it as a IP layer. And for performing the routing, it is completely based on IPv6. It will not take any information from the MAC layer. So the routing is not depending on MAC layer header. It is depending on IPv6 header. For routing, IPv6 address is required, not the MAC address or any information from the MAC layer. That is one advantage of this RPL protocol. RPL has two modes. One is storing mode and another one is non-storing mode. This RPL can be used even in the normal scenarios, also in the constraint scenario. See, in the storing mode, any node can store the routing table. All the nodes can contain a routing table. They have a very good infrastructure and they can store these things. And every nodes know how to reach all other node. Every node maintains one routing table which has information about all other nodes in the network. Every node knows how to reach all other node in the network. That is storing mode. This is for a normal scenario. But we have another mode called as non-storing mode. Here only few routers, we call them as a border routers, are a fully functional device, are a main devices, the heads in the network. Group head or a personal area network head will maintain the routing table. We call them as a border routers. Only these nodes maintain the routing table. Only these node maintains the every information. Here it forms something called as a tree-like structure, and there will be a parent node. The parent node will be this border router. We'll see how it looks. ಹೆಂಗಿರತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಟ್ರೀ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಹೇಗಿರತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಇರತ್ತೆ. We'll see that. Like this. So can you see this? So this is one of the tree constructed by the RPL protocol. I'll come to this later. There are two modes. One is storing mode and another one in non-storing mode. In the storing mode, every device maintains a routing table. Every node knows how to reach all other nodes in the network. But in non-storing mode, only border routers or a group leaders will maintain the routing table, and every node should know how to reach these border routers. They construct a tree by making these border routers as a parents. Once they send the data to this border router will take care of forwarding this data because only it has the routing table. This saves the memory space and CPU also. So is this fine? Two modes in this. RPL is completely based on as tree-based routing. It follows something called as tree-based routing technique. So here the tree is a directed acyclic graph. We call this as DAG. What is directed graph? There will be a direction in the graph and you can transfer the data only in this direction. What is the meaning of acyclic? Acyclic means there is no cycles or loops in the graph. So it is complete. The tree will be like a DAG. The DAG means directed acyclic graph. So we don't have any cycles in it. And it follows a particular direction for sending the data. Here there will be a root node. The root node or a parent node will be the border router. And all other nodes will be connected to it in the form of a tree. RPL start creating something called as destination-oriented DAG or a DODAJ. What is this destination-oriented DAG? This will be something like this. There will be a root node. So this is a destination node. All the nodes will start constructing a path towards the destination. All the nodes will be directed towards the destination like this. And there won't be any cycles in this. We call this as DODAG, direct destination oriented. Suppose this is a border router, all the nodes will be pointing towards the destination. That's why we call it as destination oriented. And we will be using something called as directed acyclic graph for this constructing tree. And you can have multiple destinations also, and you can have multiple routes also. But destination oriented DAG will construct different trees for each destination. In a DAG, there can be multiple routes, but in a destination oriented DAG, there will be only one route like this. See, this is a acyclic graph. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅನ್ಸ್ಬೋದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಲೂಪ್ ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ. It will not enter into a loop. It is not forwarding the data like this. So this is a DAG, but this is a DODAG. ಇವೆರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ನೋಡ್ಗೆ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ. This is pointing to this node. This is pointing this node. Multiple destinations are there. This we call it as DAG. It is just a directed acyclic graph. But in the DODAG, this is for every destination, there will be one tree. See, here it is taken like this. For this destination, one tree is constructed. You can send the data in any of these paths. That's all. ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕಳಿಸಿ, ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕಳಿಸಿ. ಯಾವುದು ಲೂಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿಯಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ದೇರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಅನದರ್, ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಒನ್ ದೇರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಅನದರ್. It will be like this. Only this will be considered. For this destination, it can be like this. This is one DODAG. From the DAG, from the directed acyclic graph, we can construct from the directed acyclic graph, we can construct multiple DAGs like this. This is one DAG as shown here. This is another DAG. And this is the one more DAG. From a single DAG, we can convert multiple destination oriented directed acyclic graph like this. Any doubt in the DAG?